ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
I guess it's about time I take it off mute. Hey, welcome to Oilers Live. Following 4 in a row from the Oilers. Pretty exciting night tonight. If you tuned into the game, lots of good things. Also, lots of scary moments. Lots of people holding their breath in the final 3 minutes. I'd love to know tonight what you think. I've got, I'm going to stay on for a little while. I haven't been online or recorded a podcast in some time, so thought tonight's the night. I have released the date and the time for the Oilers Live Cup, which this is what I'm going to start with today. So the Oilers Live Cup is coming up. It's April 6th. It's a Saturday. And it's also the final game of the season for the Oilers. And so they'll be in Calgary playing, of course, the dreaded Flames. Hopefully, the game means something for us. And, I know we're still, if you look at it after tonight, we're still 7 points back. I didn't get any of the results tonight in the other games. I was sure Tampa should have beat Mini, but Dubnyk closed the door there. It's not often you see Tampa get shut out. And then, of course, the Flames. They're not scoring a goal lately at all, so they've completely dried up. And they couldn't put the Coyotes out of their misery either. So we didn't get any help tonight on the scoreboard. Right now all we've got is hope. And so when we go into this final game of the year, that's on April 6th, hopefully you guys, hopefully people still come out and they're still going to get tickets. This is in Calgary. It's going to be a charity hockey game. All donations are going to go to adults with autism. And so as those of you that participated in the first Oilers Live Cup, it was a great time. It was at the Oilers Edmonton Community Arena downtown, attached to Rogers Place. We had a blast, and lots of people came out. We had 2 full teams. We had some jerseys. Go onto my Twitter profile, and feel free to ask everybody if they had a good time. I think they had a great time. We had some spectators out, and we raised a couple $1,000 for Chinook Autism Society. I know they put the order in today for not today, but a week ago for some sensory toys for autistic children. Anyway, throughout all that research, I realized that there's a lot of kids that were diagnosed with autism that are obviously becoming adults, and there's a serious lack of support out there for adults with autism. So this game, we're going to switch it up a little bit, and we're going to donate the proceeds 100% to adults with autism. And we've already had, I think, 4 people register as players. So right now we're playing 2-on-2. Registration is free. You don't need to feel obligated to donate. Would love just to have you come out and join us. A bunch of Oilers fans being crazy in Calgary, and then a lot of us will be going to the game after. So that's the Oilers Live Cup. The Mega Thread, Revenge of the Mega Thread is what I'm calling it, as Team Heavy Hockey kind of had their way with the Mega Thread team. And I can say that. I switched teams midway through, and I didn't make much of a difference in that regard. All right, so let's talk some Oilers hockey. First things first, let's talk about the good things that happened tonight. I look at this Oilers team, and, we're seeing, I was, of course, if you're following along, I was in Buffalo recently. Got to see that game live. As everybody knows, we got a couple of bounces, and that's what teams need in order to go on a streak. I thought tonight we were a little bit more in it the first two periods. Third period kind of got away on us after that goal. But I thought I liked the way that we came out. We didn't come out flat. We came out like a team, that had a little bit of desperation, that wanted to win 4 in a row. Right off, I think it was like 5 seconds in, Gagne got a shot on net. And you can't ask for much more than that in that first period. It was, trading chances, high shots, and I thought, our good players were just better, right? I do like having Gags up there in the top 6. Definitely, in my mind, that's a place that he should be playing. So that's the good things. I also, you have to like the play of Jujhar Khaira. Steps in after being out of the lineup for how many games, and he doesn't look like he missed a beat. He was, he's not meant to be anything flashy. He's down third line, but I think he did what you expect of him. He had some nice chances, and I just like the way Khaira came in after being on the IR. Still liking Curry. He's playing really well. The Caveman, well, he's not playing poorly. He's the kind of guy you want on your team as a 13, 14 guy. And will give you some good minutes. The defense is another thing that's starting to even out a little bit for us. I've been we can all be pretty honest about this. We don't have the best defensemen in the league, but what we do have is some guys that can give you minutes consistently, and if I think the important part when you have your defense is that everybody's playing the minutes that they're supposed to play. And when Sekera's out of the lineup or Clefbaum's out of the lineup, you've got guys that are playing, in my mind, far too up the lineup. And it doesn't make those guys bad defensemen if they're playing, 1 or 2. That's not where they're meant to play. I see we got Dursa's on, and Reggie he's been super solid. I actually, and I said it on here, I didn't expect anything out of Sekera before he came back, and I went in with no expectations, and I've been pretty happy with no expectations. I just want to call out Dash 8 and also Condor fan. Hello, Condors fan. Condors are doing awesome, by the way. I know everybody's following along there. I've been watching the games. One of the big concerns, right, after you lose one, after going 17 is, are you going to be able to get back on the horse? They've proven they can. Pretty excited about that. Will be exciting to see them in the playoffs and hopefully make some noise in the playoffs this year. Hell of a team up there. Woodcroft's done a good job there. The bad things about tonight. Third period, I don't know what it is that, is this the, oh, geez, look at that. Okay, I've got a caller already. Let's see who we got. Hello, you're on Oilers Live.
Hey, Mike, it's Eric. What's going on, man?
Hey, I didn't even announce the call-in line. Wow, hey, that's pretty good.
I got that number memorized.
Yeah. Well, it's not hard. Welcome.
Yeah, I was just
welcome.
listening to the show. Yeah, thanks. I
Yeah.
was just tuned in a minute ago, so I thought I'd quickly give you a hand here for a couple minutes, chime in.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did. This was not a planned live cast. I thought, well,
Yeah,
you know what? It's a decent game tonight. We played two good periods. I would like to get rid of the
yeah,
third period there, but outside of that, we did what we needed to win. Sometimes, in my mind anyway, sometimes you need, in order to get a streak going, your forwards and your defense aren't always going to play great, so you need, your goaltender to step in. What was your thought on the game?
I liked it. I mean, I think if there's one sour point to it, it's that for the second straight night they hit a post or the side of the net with an empty net. But it would have been great to see Draisaitl get one closer to 50 there. But overall, I mean, it's great to see the team win 4 in a row. It's a shame they played so poorly in the weeks leading up to it that kind of put them in this predicament. But it's encouraging signs that they're not giving up on the season.
So, what's your feeling here? Because part of me is hey, I love this. I'm cheering. I'm watching the games. I'm happy. And then there's a part of me that's so we got a chance. That part of me, and I don't know that I want to start believing, right? Because we are still 7 points back, and you know what? I'm starting to get some belief, distant belief. But that's where your heart gets ripped out of you if it just falls apart. What's your thought there?
I mean, I'm as optimistic as anyone about this team. That's just how I approach cheering for the Oilers. It's in my blood. But at the end of the day, we all know it's going to be a long shot to get in. So I'm just enjoying watching because there's 15 games left, and then the Oilers don't play for 6 months. So let's just enjoy what we got. If they get in, that's great. If they lose and we get a top 10 pick, that's great too. I'm going to believe that they can, but we know it's going to be a tougher road ahead.
Yeah, I get where you're going, and really the truth is, right? You just want to see the team win some games and see some success out of guys like. By the way, I got your picture up. Of you at Rogers now.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
that was my last game at Rexall Place.
Oh, at Rexall, that was. Well, yeah, I guess I should have looked at the screen in the
closing
middle.
The barn down.
It's about a quarter of the size. I was there too at the last game.
Nice.
On another note, being in Buffalo, the seats in Buffalo are identical to the old Rexall seats. The blue, cushiony.
I saw your tweet about that.
Yeah, I mean it was eerie sitting down in there. It felt a little bit like home. I can't believe.
Some Northland Coliseum vibes.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like it's it's a very similar arena. I am not sure the year of it. I'll have to ask Nasher there with Rinks Around the League, or probably watch his episode. It's a bit of an older arena. It's nice. It's good. They've got they've done a little bit of work on it. They put of course the wait times for the washrooms were a little bit odd. Nasher also said that was a planned thing for Rogers Place that they never ended up going ahead with. They cut that. What were some of the other things out there? Overall, like the fans were good. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, it was built in 94.
Oh, really? So that's more recent than I thought. Mind you, they did an upgrade.
KeyBank, right?
KeyBank, yeah.
They did. Okay.
They did an upgrade in for Rexall. And did they upgrade the seats when they did that upgrade? They did, yeah. The seats seem
when
so
they
old
upgraded
now.
Rexall, I'm not sure about that. They probably did.
I would think they did. Anyway, KeyBank, for those of you that are for those that are watching or listening, I'm definitely going to plan to be back there next year for Sabres Oilers. You can't ask for a better
You just
deal.
drove down from Toronto, hey?
Yeah, it was. So to get there, I'd say probably took me about 2 hours and 10 minutes from Mississauga, and
Yeah.
and then on the way back, it was an hour and a half, like because there's no
Yeah,
time at the border, right? Yeah. So
I've only been to Buffalo once. It was 2 years ago. I was there when I was living in Toronto for journalism school, and we drove down from Toronto to Tampa Bay for Blue Jays spring training. So longest bus ride I've ever been on in my life, 30 hours. So getting to Buffalo seemed like nothing. It was the rest of the way down that was the torturous drive.
yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, it's it's yeah. I guess the thing is Buffalo itself is not too exciting, right? Like you go in, there's a couple of
No.
buildings with the American style architecture. I don't know what year that'd be, but getting stuck at the border would be very difficult. And then especially
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
it seems like a world away from New York City, right? Like Western New York to Manhattan is probably as far as Toronto to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, in terms of like culture and things to do.
And I guarantee they've never heard of Moose Jaw out there.
No,
Yeah. I was, you know
I don't
what,
think
I was
not many
surprised
people
by.
in Toronto have heard of Moose Jaw.
No, that is true. I was surprised by the sheer amount of Oilers fans at the game. I met some
Yeah.
some of the Twitter folks out there. That 3 or 4 of them, and then I ran into an old friend from university, which was cool. But there had to be, I'm going to say, a couple thousand Oilers fans there.
Well, you could hear it on TV when they scored. I mean, it sounded like, I won't say a home game, but it sounded just as loud as when the Oilers score in, let's say, Arizona.
Oh yeah. I imagine Arizona's worse. There were some good. The people were nice. Like I sat. I went down by myself. I tried to get a couple people in Toronto to come out, but there's surprisingly fewer Oilers fans in Toronto than there are out here.
Yeah.
But I was surrounded by Sabres fans, and in my little area, what I found somewhat pleasing was what we already know as Oilers fans, or should know. And if you're listening today, whether you agree or not, Leon Draisaitl is an elite player, and we know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's proven it, right?
He's been elite.
Yeah. And there was a guy sitting in front of me. Just
sorry,
1 second. There's a guy sitting in front of me at the beginning of the game. He says, Draisaitl, yeah, he's good with Connor McDavid. Anyway, by the end of the game, this guy's like, holy crap, like, Draisaitl is amazing, right? Like, he got a real feel for, just what we already know. And if you're an Eastern-based if you're Eastern-based in any capacity and you don't get a chance to watch the Oilers, there's no way you could possibly know. All you know is what the Toronto sports media reports on, which is that Oilers are getting scoring from Draisaitl and McDavid, and that's it. They don't see him enough to have any idea, but they're all experts, of course. Anyway, go ahead. You were going to say something.
I think it might be compared. Yeah, I think it's comparable to like Barkov in Florida, right? I mean, how many full Florida Panther games do you watch a year? I can't say that I watch more than 5.
Wow, there's probably about 5 fans in the stadium too. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have a good friend that's a Florida Panthers fan, and he'd be rattled at me if he heard me say that. But I don't think he's listening to this podcast.
No.
Yeah, he gives me a hard time because he's not a big Oilers fan either. But anyway, I compare it sort of to Draisaitl. Like if you don't watch him, you don't realize. But I mean, we're talking about only 6 players in the NHL have had 70 or more points in 3 straight years. Connor's one of them, and Leon's one of the other ones. We have 2 of the 6 guys that have done that. I mean, the consistency of this guy. Like, maybe he's not going to be an 80, 90-point player every year. He is this year. But if this is a guy who can get 70 points every year, that's really valuable.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it is, in my mind, it's just unbelievable. And I think when Connor left with the flu, when he was out with the flu, that's when I think Draisaitl kind of clicked in that he can do this game without him, right? Like, I think, you
think, here's
sorry.
Always saying. No. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I
got you.
Yeah, no, that's all right. My feeling on it has always been, because watching Draisaitl, I might have said the same thing, 6 months ago, is that he's not ready to. In fact, I remember saying the same thing, that I said he's not ready to do his own line, but it's not because he's not capable. It's because he doesn't believe it. And I think he's really starting to believe it now, and he's starting to, understand just kind of what kind of talent he is. So, sorry, you were going to say something.
You know what? If he centers his own line, that's fine. And if he doesn't, and they end up having Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as a second-line center, and maybe down the road Ryan McLeod as their third-line center or something, isn't that all right if he's just Connor McDavid's right wing? Like, yeah, I mean, you want to split them up, but they're never going to play together all the time. But I mean, so what if you have 2 elite players together? That's obviously the goal eventually. If Draisaitl can be second-line center, you want to get someone else elite for Connor to play with. I mean, this guy, he's one of the best players in the NHL. I mean, you never hear anyone say, "Oh, when's Marner going to drive his own line?" He's got Tavares.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, the guy's a great player. Great players play together.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, though, at least, for the near term, I'm quite happy having the 2 of them on a separate line. It is if with the talent that we have, but if something makes itself available in upcoming years, depending on how we trade and how we draft, and if a guy like McLeod comes in and proves himself, I'm all for that. I mean, this is it's sometimes if you got 2 elite guys on a line, I mean, they're just going to kill it, and we've seen how lethal Draisaitl and McDavid are together. So I'm all right with that. I just think that at least in the near term, you have to be able to mix it up a little bit with teams, and make sure that their best players aren't always playing against your best players. And the only way to do that is to be running two really good lines. Right, and I think the closest we get to doing that is by splitting those 2 up. And Draisaitl's starting to, he's starting to get. I don't know why we didn't have Gags up there in the top 6 before, but with Gags and Chase on, that's a line that Draisaitl can lead to 1 or 2 points a game, and he did tonight.
Well, you know what? He's playing with guys who have some offensive potential. And with all due respect to other guys, there's been times where he's had Milan Lucic and Tobias Rieder as his wingers this year. Well, Rieder has 0 goals. Lucic has 5 goals. I mean, it doesn't matter how great of a player you are. Even if you stapled those 2 to Connor McDavid all season, it's going to have a small impact. He's not going to reach his offensive potential with 2, wingers who are struggling to even get a goal, let alone, score regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, what did you think about Koskinen tonight?
I liked his game. I think he made one mistake where it I won't even call it a mistake. It's a bad bounce. It hit the inside of his paddle and sat on the goal line for an easy tap in. So you take that one away, and then you take the goal away that could have been goalie interference, and we're talking about a shutout.
Yeah. So when I think that they went a little bit too quick in terms of calling that play no goalie interference. I think it was clearly once they slowed it down and you looked at it from the front, there's absolutely no way that Koskinen's gloves not pushed out of the way. I don't know. I'd like a little bit more of an explanation on that one, but they were really quick to come to the decision that it wasn't goaltender interference. And I think if you're like me, when the first time that I saw the play and they made the challenge, I thought, why are we grasping at straws? And it was that when they slowed it down, looking at it from the front, he clearly pushes his glove out of the way. To me, that's the definition of goaltender interference. DeBrusque didn't even take long on it.
Players are getting sneaky with it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're trying to just brush up against them so slightly that they know that even if it does get reviewed, the refs are going to have a hard time reversing it because it's like a 50-50 play.
Yeah.
It's almost like in baseball, right? If it's tied at first base, you give it to the runner, right?
Yep.
So it might be the same in this. Like if it's that close to call, you don't want to take away a goal. Of course, as an Oilers fan, we've had those calls go against us so many times where there's been just a play where it's been almost obvious that it should be going our way, and then it ends up going against us. So There might be some fans that are just absolutely bitter about the system altogether. Understandably.
There might be a few out there. You got that right.
And I'm one of them half the time.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you. It does get they get it right. The only thing that really has bugged me about the officiating is the McDavid thing. Like his holding today, that was a hold, right? Like in my mind, that's a hold. 9 out of 10 times McDavid deserved a penalty there, but that's what they do against him. Yeah, so I don't get
every game.
Every game. It happened to him in Buffalo. Darlene held him up when he missed the empty net.
Exactly.
No call. Yeah. The exact same kind of hold as well, in fact, which drives me nuts. Did you watch the Buffalo game, by the way?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I've been fortunate to not miss I've only missed one game of Connor McDavid's Oiler career so far.
Oh yeah, which one? Do you remember?
The streak. Yeah, it was actually when I was in Calgary. So it would have been early March, right around this time, 2016. And I was at a Hitman game with my uncle there. And it was the game where Darnell Nurse knocked out, why am I missing his name on the Sharks?
Burns.
He went to the Leafs. He went to the Leafs and came back to the Sharks. He beat the hell out of him. Like, he just broke his face. Can't think of his name at the moment. But, Oilers lost that one, but that's the only one I've missed of his career so far.
Jeez.
It'll drive me nuts when I can't think of it now.
Yeah, when it comes to you, let me know. So if anybody's listening, there's you can I don't know how long you want to stay for, Eric, but you're welcome all night. And I don't know how long I'm going to stay online anyway, but we've got.
No, I'm at work right now, so I just thought I'd call you while I'm.
Right on.
Yeah. So
when do you got to go back? Right away.
I'll keep listening. Yeah. Is there anything you want to wrap up with, and I'll let you go?
Yeah, no, I just you're registered for. Did you register yet for the Oilerslive Cup?
No.
Okay.
Do I have to like get an email about that, or
Just go
do I just
onto
go to your
my
website?
profile,
Okay.
and then you can go and
On your
there's
page,
yeah,
Twitter page or something?
and it'd be probably a
Yeah.
few tweets down. Um, like it, retweet it, and then click the link and go and register. We've already got 5 registered. I updated the thing today. We can start
Yeah.
getting ready, and of course you and I will be at the
You said
game.
the game's at 4,
Game
right?
itself starts at 8. Our game, the
For
Oilers
the
Live
Oilers
Cup,
Live.
is
Yeah.
4:00.
4 o'clock. So then after that, we'll have probably a couple hours to quickly change and get down to the dome, I guess. Hey.
You bet. Yeah. Yeah. You bet.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. My first Battle of Alberta in 13 years.
Oh, serious?
Yeah.
Well, it would be.
First,
I've been to. I bet you probably 20 Battle of Alberta games, if not more.
oh wow.
Yeah.
When I was we went to one. April 1st, 2006. It was my first Oiler game actually, and after that, it was the year the Oilers went to the Cup final too, which was great. But unfortunately, they lost to the Flames that game. But my dad and I, when we were watching the game, we were just seeing all the fights in the stands and all the stuff. And my dad basically said to me, we're coming back to a game next year, but we're not seeing an Oiler and Flames game again. This is ridiculous. So
well, it's not
as
that
a
bad
kid, you don't
anymore.
really have much to say either way.
Yeah, I would say it's not that bad. I mean, I have I've been to lots. Other than a couple of altercations here at the Saddle Dome, where guys were, a little bit had a few too many pops and getting a little bit lippy at the end of the game. There's been, both sides of the fans have been great. In fact, in Rogers Place, the fans have been having some fun in both ways. So it's been pretty good, I think.
Well, it's the last game of the year too, so let's hope it means something for the Oilers one way or another.
Let's hope it does. Yeah, that's the it would be great if it did mean something. And as I said, I'm starting to get
make the playoffs,
glimmer of hope.
If they don't, yeah, if they don't make it, maybe Connor gets his 120th point there or something like that.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. You got to.
Or what if
you got to
Leon
figure
got his 50th
Kucherov is. You got to figure Kucherov is going to run away with it this year. It might not be Connor's year, but he also doesn't have the team behind him that Kucherov does for sure.
And he's missed 4 games too, so I mean maybe that's just me being sour grapes, but
that's true. Yeah, he's 5 games. I'm just looking at it right now.
4 extra games,
But it is 14 points in 5 games. Connor could do that. If anybody could do 14 in 5 games, he could do it. Yeah, we'll see. He'll probably make it interesting.
I think Patrick Kane even had a run like that this year, so.
Oh, yeah.
It can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for calling in on your break, and hope you listen in. I'm probably going to stay online for another half hour and then call it for the night, but I wanted to get the advertising for the Oilers Live Cup, talk a little bit about the 4-game win streak, and it was good to have you call in. All right.
I appreciate that. Well, I guess we'll see you in about a month, Michael. Thanks.
You bet. Okay, thanks, Eric.
Bye.
And that is Eric Friesen, who you can find on Twitter at Eric J. Friesen, EricJFriesen. So Eric J. Friesen. Eric's been on the podcast, I don't know, half dozen times, and is great to have on all the time. I was going to say most of the time. I meant all the time. Anyway, good having you on, Eric. So I think I'm not sure if he hung up yet, but All right, so if you do want to call in, you can call in at 587-907 live, 587-907-5483. Be happy to have you get your thoughts on the game and go from there. I'm not going to stay online for too long tonight. Eric on Periscope says most of the time is fine. Let's talk about some of the things in this game. A few of the negatives in this game. I thought, of course, first two periods, Oilers played great. I thought in the third period there was something a little bit different. Somebody had commented maybe they run out of gas. I don't know what it was. It just, was it desperation by Vancouver? Was it, running out of gas by the Oilers? I just thought that we changed our game up a little bit in the third period and just didn't come out with the same kind of intensity that we had the other two. What I love is that, this team is coming out with the will to win every game right now, and it's got to feel good. It's whether or not these games end up meaning anything at the end of the season. I think that, if the team continues to win until the end of the year, like they have a winning record, I think that, that's good for the psyche. And, for these guys going into next year and having something positive come out of the end of the season, good to get to fake 500 again. Also, I think that means that Hitch is just over 500, 21. Is he 20-20 or 21-20? I'll have to look it up, but he's back at near that 500 mark as his time at coach, and pretty happy with that fact. And I'm also liking the fact that he's keeping at least a little bit of a lineup together now, where he's got McDavid and Draisaitl running their own lines. He finally, Hitch hasn't had, for most of his time as Oilers coach, he hasn't had a full defensive set with him. That's nice that he's got that. A lot of things coming together. This is not, let's not kid ourselves, this is not a Stanley Cup team, but it's got the makings of a team that can at least get into the playoffs. And if you got guys like McDavid and Draisaitl and your goalie gets hot, you never know where they could end up. And so, I'd love for this team on Saturday to go and play Toronto and show that they're serious about this. 5 in a row is a big deal. Would have been nice if we had some help on the scoreboard tonight to kind of make it a little bit more palatable that maybe we were back in the hunt. But Arizona beats Calgary and Minnesota beats Tampa. Who would have thought? So again, 587-907-5483. I'm going to stay on probably at least till about 11:30 Mountain if you're listening in. You can listen in on the Simple Radio app. Look for Oilerslive Radio. We've got a number of listeners on there right now. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, all of those places you can listen in or watch live and chat about the game. The other, Mr. Mike Megathread Dursa is watching right now. Feel free to call in, Mike, if you want. We can chat a little bit about the Oilers Live Cup coming up, Revenge of the Megathread, or or whatever else is on your mind. The Toronto thing is interesting. We of course that was kind of the one game you want to erase out of the Oilers' last little bit of games. was the game in Toronto. I think that that was probably the first period in that Toronto game could have been one of the best road periods I've seen this team play in a long time. They came out flying. I thought that I was pretty confident that the Oilers were going to at least make it a close game and possibly win in Toronto. And then the first 5 minutes of the second period happened, and it was ugly. So, it is what it is, right? I mean, you're going to anytime you have a role, it's sometimes you're just going to come out a little bit flat, and if you have more better road periods, if you have better periods than in your favor, then you got bad ones against you, then you can put together a nice little streak. We're talking about Tampa Bay. That was, that's kind of the instance where they lose a game 3-0, right? And I would imagine that their fans aren't going overboard and saying this team is garbage and among other things. They're going to bounce back. Condors bounce back after their loss to the Iowa Wild. And they've won their next two after that. So that's what teams do. When you're putting in a good streak, teams come back and they come back and they're better the next game. And the Oilers have been doing that. We can't ask for much more. The downside for us as fans is that this hasn't been happening for a full year. And there's lots of reasons for that. If you've been listening at all to Stauffer on Oilers Now, he's put a lot of talk and emphasis on Chiarelli lately and all of the things that are going on with that. And Chiarelli made some awful trades. He was poor with the cup management, poor with the salary cap, and he's gone now. So as Oilers fans, I think it's time we move on. There's a lot of things. I always kind of argued that, it wasn't so much what Chiarelli did, it was what he didn't do that kind of pissed me off. And now that we have Sekera back in the lineup, it makes it clear to me again. I mean, it just emphasizes the point that I had that whole time, which is, when Sekera is out of the lineup, you should be doing everything in your power to make up for that, gaping hole that's there on your defensive pairs. You can't have guys playing minutes that they're not supposed to be playing. And I go back to this. Nurse is a great defender, but should he be doing 30 minutes a night? No. We can't have that. It's just not the kind of minutes that you have a guy like Nurse playing. He's not set up to do that. And when you have defensemen slotted into the spots that they're supposed to be in, then you're going to be successful defensively. You can't have guys playing, too few minutes, not enough minutes. Everybody plays their own game, and they play it, a certain way, and they play it well, right? The other thing that Sekera brings to the table that, if it's not just the veteran presence of him being there, and we heard a lot about that with the Condors and him being on the Bakersfield team out there, but so that veteran presence, him being in the locker room, you heard DeBrusk talk about it, you've heard Stauffer talk about it, and I have no doubt, hearing Sekera when he's in interviews, he's a smart guy. He's a little bit older than the rest of the guys. He's good for the team. But the other thing he brings is puck movement. And we've been sorely missing a puck-moving defenseman on this team. And I don't know if it's the fact that you're practicing with this guy daily, you're watching him in gameplay, but overall the whole team has looked defensively as better puck movers since Sekera's been back in the lineup. And so, we're getting some time in the offensive zone. We're spending some time there because we're able to bring the puck in on the fly. We're not caught flat-footed and getting stuck in the neutral zone and having to dump it in and hope to keep it in there. We're having the success defensively that we need to have, and we're playing the right guys in the right spots. So a lot of good things happening. I think that's that about sums it up though tonight. If I had to say what is contributing to the Oilers lately, some of it is the time of year, right? We can't discard that. This is the time of year where if it doesn't mean as much, you're a little bit relaxed and you're going to play better. So as much as I hate to say that, but that's just the way it is, right? We've got nothing left to lose. So, teams playing relaxed, they're playing well. But the other things that matter are, Sekera being back. Koskinen's been, he made some good saves today. And he's been making some good saves. I still want him to make a couple of those saves that keep us in the game. Like absolutely, jaw-dropping saves. We haven't seen that out of him yet, but, it's time will tell. And, with that contract that he's got, I think we need some of those. We need him to steal a couple games for us. We haven't had that yet. But I'm not criticizing him. It's just that's just where he's at. I don't think Talbot stole us any games 2 years ago when we got into the playoffs. I think he was just capable, and so we got there. Do you have a caller? Mary. Mary's calling in. I guess now the chirp sessions can begin. We got the now that we got the Oilerslive Cup coming up again. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Good, you?
Oh, not too bad. I don't think I can chirp now, though. I think you hushed us for now, so we have to just put up this time. So
That's right. Yeah, it should be. We got a lot of the same guys that are already registered for the game, so it should be fun. Are you for sure coming, or are you not sure yet?
Yeah, I think I'll be there.
Awesome. All right.
Pretty sure, 95%. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, let's hope we didn't get any help on the scoreboard tonight. And while it's a distant shot, we need help, and we need those teams to lose the games they're supposed to lose, like against Calgary and like against Tampa. So the two teams that we want to see lose tonight beat the two top teams in the league right now. How's that figure? It's like I don't know.
Yeah, no, nothing easy.
No. You think we got you? Like, are you feeling it? You feel like we got a shot, or you still signed out in terms of our chances?
I'm just enjoying the way they're playing right now.
Yeah. Who's what's your biggest surprise lately in the last, say, 10 games?
Well, I would point to two things. Andre Sekera has got to be right up there, and kind of Leon just taking flight.
Yeah, Leon is amazing, and he's just been he's been outstanding. Some of the passes he makes are absolutely ridiculous. We're of course focusing on his goal scoring, but his ability to do that backhand, no look pass. I don't know. I mean, is there who does he remind you of? For me, it was it's always been Doug Waite. Like I felt like Draisaitl reminded me a lot of Dougie Waite, but I'm just so impressed with him, and even like one of the things that we don't talk a lot about, but when he's going down the ice and he's got a little bit of speed, he can make some pretty plays, and just make the defenseman look really bad. Like his ability to turn a guy inside out is pretty phenomenal, and he's just got an all around game. His hand to eye coordination. If you try to pass it by him, and he's got any time whatsoever, he always picks it out of the air. Like he could probably go play baseball. He's pretty good in that regard.
You got to see him in Buffalo there. That pass he made to Nurse, that was pretty special.
Oh yeah, no, and Draisaitl had a great game in Buffalo. And I don't know if you were listening earlier, but I was telling Eric, there were guys that were sitting around me that were kind of saying he's nothing without Connor McDavid, that changed their tune by the end of the game. It was it was good to see. I mean, he's just a dominant player. He's really good, and the passes he's making are unbelievable. He and that one-time shot, right? Like he's just an all-around good player that can play in any situation. Good old lazy Leon, right? Who's 10 times faster than anybody really knows. I mean, he's fun to watch. So in Buffalo, I was about 18 rows from ice level, which is perfect. It's you can see the whole play. I was pretty much on center ice, but you also get a good feel for the speed of the game at that level. And to see some of the moves that him and McDavid were making, and fully understand the speed that they were making them at, jaw dropping. Yeah. The other thing though, and I'll have to call this out, is that Dahlin, he's outstanding. He is going to be one hell of a player in this league. He made some plays that you might not have seen or really saw on TV, but he made some beauty plays, and he just didn't get a lot of help from the rest of the team. He is so fluid with the puck and such a smart player. He's going to be fun to watch in a couple of years. So Toronto, what do you think? What's going to happen there? What team comes out?
Well, hopefully they don't get ahead of themselves. Like the last Toronto game, I think you touched on it a bit there. They had a good first period, but inside of, I think, 3 minutes, they just got dummied by the Leafs. Have to stay focused and sharp the whole game and not let their foot off the gas if they get out to a lead.
Yeah. I mean, what do you agree with me? I mean, that was their first period in that Toronto game was probably in my mind, one of their best road periods of the year. I thought they played excellent. And for them to come out as flat as they did in the second, I don't know. Like, how does that happen? I think they're learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Toronto could be a quick strike team, and if you make a mistake, they'll burn you in a hurry. They played pretty strong in Columbus, but I don't know if that's more to do with good management totally by the Oilers, or Columbus just didn't show up. I haven't got that one figured out yet, because that was like a total Edmonton dominant game, start to finish.
Yeah, it's Stauffer had Friedman on the day before or the night before, or a couple days before, and Friedman was saying, he kind of hopes Columbus is the team that does something, because of the trades that they made. They've really surprised me at just how little they've done. They got shut out again tonight against Pittsburgh. I think that I'm just looking at the standings now. They're sitting 2 points out, and well, they've got a game in hand, I guess, on Montreal, but they're really fighting for. They're 4-6-0 in their last 10. I think the Oilers came in at the right time or the wrong time if you're a Columbus fan. I think, though, I've always kind of said, you can't change the composition of a team at the trade deadline, right? If you're going to make a couple ads, small ads, I think that's good. But when's the last time, and maybe you can, I was trying to think about this the other day, when's the last time a rental player really worked out for a team?
Dwayne Rollison.
Yeah. Were you a big Rollison fan, by the way? I was not.
I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't until like that playoff run. Really, I didn't think much of him before then. But he was pretty good at that playoff run. The one thing that I didn't like, but I kind of liked, was his theatrics. You know how he would sort of catch the puck in midair and bat it out to center ice.
Yeah, I do remember that. I thought my thing with Dwayne Rollison, actually, if I think about him, he reminded me a lot Talbot, not necessarily in the style of play, but in the way they just kind of labored on through a season. Rollison and Talbot were, in my mind, kind of similar type of goalies. They benefit. They had the benefit of a team that was, scoring a couple goals and then, and keeping them in. But there was never, what I remember about Rollison in that season, especially the season we went to the finals, was, he didn't steal any games for us, right? He did play well in the playoffs. I'll give him that. But I just didn't feel like, imagine like a Hasek or a Kiprasov or a Pekka Rinne or a Fleury. These guys, like, they steal games, right?
Well, I think you're forgetting. I think the first game that we played Detroit, I think Detroit had 60 shots. And we walked away with the first game.
Yeah, I mean
And I think that gave the team belief.
Well, and that's not to say he never stole games. I felt like his tenure with the Oilers, he didn't, that was the kind of play that he had. He just kind of, rolled along. And I thought Talbot, in the year that, we went to the playoffs recently, I thought, I had much the same type of feeling. Was, goalie gets lucky once in a while, but it's not like, I'd love to have a Fleury on this team, or remember, like, Joseph,
Definitely.
right? Or, a Price or whatever, right? Like a real top tier goaltender. Yeah. I mean, Cujo was outstanding, and those guys, they, there were games, and this is what makes a team, the difference between a team that, is middling to in the season to a team that is outstanding. Those guys steal games for a team, and they get to that point where, if McDavid and Draisaitl have a bad night, it'd be nice to see Koskinen come up big, right? We haven't seen that out of him yet. Maybe he's got it in him. We haven't seen enough of a sample yet to really know what we have in Koskinen, I think. We'll see. I'd love to see him, which isn't likely this year, but I'd love to see him in the playoffs. I'd love to see this team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Well, it's a different team now with Reggie back there. I'm baffled at actually how well he's doing after coming back from an Achilles injury. It's a very pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah, his speed wise, there's nothing. I can't find fault in his game. I really, And I watched him in Bakersfield, and I remember telling people, like, don't expect too much. AHL is the AHL, and you come to the NHL and it's a different speed, and he hasn't looked out of place. Glenn Moss says Flames should have picked up a rental goalie at the trade deadline. That's their biggest weakness. I couldn't agree more with that. Have you watched any Flames games lately?
Yeah, I've watched bits and pieces. It's hard to watch Calgary just because they're Calgary, but yeah, no, that's their Achilles heel, and I don't know. I kind of think them and Tampa Bay, until they prove otherwise, I think they're sort of the President's Trophy curse kind of teams.
Yeah, I'm not convinced on Calgary, to be fair, and some of me says that's because it's Calgary, but then the other part of me, says it's you got a team who, I think, where Calgary I think is really good is they've got quality puck moving defensemen on the back end, and something the Oilers have sorely lacked. And I think that helps you get secondary scoring out of a team. But the teams now seem to be, as which I expected after the All-Star break. Guys are, games are starting to get a little bit heavier, and it's you start playing a different style at this time of year, and it comes as no surprise to me that the offense for Calgary is drying up a little bit, and then their goaltending has been a question mark all season, right? Rittich had a stretch though where it looked like he was the second coming of Kiprasov, and then he's kind of gone back to playing, what you'd expect from a guy that's a second string goalie, and Smith. I'm just glad we don't have him on our team. He would frustrate me to no end. He's the kind of guy, he'll play 5 games and absolutely like steal the games, and then all of a sudden you wonder if you shouldn't have put the shooter tutor in net for you. Right? Like some games he's just giving them up like they're giveaways at the door. So yeah, I Glenn, I kind of agree with you. I 100% agree that I was a little bit surprised Flames didn't do anything about the goaltending. And in fact, I think goaltending is an area where at the deadline you can improve your team. Picking up a rental, and we talked about it, right? Rollison, but picking up a rental is in my mind, it can really change the composition of a team. Glenn says, speaking of goalies with theatrics, Smith is terrible. Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah.
Aside from Rolly, the other guy I would think in my mind would be Marian Hossa.
Yeah, Hossa. Bork, right? He was...
Yeah, that's back. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're coming to us now. I think though, on defense, you're better off like if you're going for a rental of some sort, defense or goalie. Defense won't change the composition too much, especially if you bring in a guy that is absolutely outstanding. Who before we call it for the night, or before I call it for the night, what's your if you had everybody in today, and so that means the Oilers are out, who's your call for coming out of the West, and who's your call coming out of the East right now?
Yeah, I think San Jose is going to be a tough out for anybody. I just think that defense that they have, once playoff hockey starts going, it's going to be hard to contend with the likes of Burns and Carlson and Vlasic and kind of that crew. I don't really love their forward core that they have, but they do have depth. It's just I don't think there's any real outstanding game breakers in that lineup. But they are deep.
Yeah.
So I would probably go with them.
And dark horse?
I think Winnipeg. Honestly, I think Winnipeg out of the West might make some noise.
Yeah. Yeah, the West, in my mind, if we go on the West, I would have to say I'm kind of going with Vegas. And this purely from a goaltending perspective. You keep Fleury in, and then the pickup of Stone, talk about rentals. Although he hasn't done anything yet. Has he scored his first goal yet? With Vegas, I don't think so, but if he gels anytime within the next, they've got 14 games left. Vegas will be pretty hard to beat, I think. So sorry, you were going to say something about Laine.
Yeah, he's been quiet for a while, so I think if he figures out how to play hockey again, they're going to be dangerous.
So he was, did you see on the Athletic poll, he was considered one of the most overrated players by players. Yeah, which, so when I was in Buffalo and chatting with the guys there, a couple of them thought, couldn't agree more. They were talking about him as just being he's got the one spot that he shoots from. He's got a hard shot and nothing more to his game. I've kind of always felt like he's, got a little bit more than that. I've liked Laine, but I'm going to watch him a little bit closer and see, if I agree with them or not. On the East, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have that one figured out yet. Something tells me it's not Tampa Bay's time. They've had a great regular season, but I just think once the grind of the playoffs come along, a team like Washington or even Pittsburgh, if they make the playoffs, can still be a dangerous team to deal with.
Yeah, if Pittsburgh makes it, right now, if current matchup would be Pittsburgh and Washington, actually, there'd be some really good. It would be a hell of a first round. If it were to happen today, because you'd have Boston and Toronto, Pittsburgh and Washington. You'd have San Jose and Vegas. The Calgary-Minnesota matchup, I think, would be a little bit on the dull side. Nashville and Dallas, I have to take Nashville. That's probably the best thing for Nashville if they were to play a team like Dallas. And then St. Louis has been, really hot lately. That St. Louis-Winnipeg matchup should be a good one. This first round, this may be, so in the East, I'm kind of with you. I'm not convinced on Tampa Bay, but I do think that Washington has another team that's, very capable of winning, back-to-back Stanley Cups. And so I would take Washington or Boston out of the East. And if I had to take a long shot, maybe the Islanders. See what Boudreau gets them up to. So if in the East, I'll go with Washington, long shot Islanders. In the West, I'd go with Vegas, and long shot maybe being St. Louis. Yeah, that's my that'd be my take.
Pretty crazy considering St. Louis was almost counted out, not that long ago.
Well, they were, and when I had the guys, I had one of the guys from the Blues Radio podcast on, and he was pretty down in the dumps on his team at the time. In fact, I think they were below Edmonton in the standings. Then something clicked, at the right time, and nobody wanted to take control in the West. St. Louis did, and once they did, they've really benefited from it. They're pretty much a shoo-in, I'd say, at this point, right, for playoff spot, unless if they mess something up. I mean, they've got 4 points on Minnesota with a couple games in hand, or a game in hand, I guess. So it should be that should be pretty good, and they've been playing pretty unbelievable. Yeah. I think I'm going to shut her down though for the night. Mike, any last thoughts on the game tonight?
No, just looking forward to Saturday night with Toronto. See if they can extend this winning streak to 5 and get a little bit of revenge for the collapse, in TO.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be at that game. So yeah, going to see that. Minnie, of course, gets Florida tomorrow night, so you'd have to figure they can play that one and win that one. Saturday will be a big night in terms of where the Oilers' slim hopes end up. My final thoughts tonight, just on this game and the Oilers in general, is it's really it has been a bit of a treat to see them go on a run for a change. I think this is the first sort of really positive run that we've had since Hitchcock took over, but I felt like that one wasn't real. This run here is a team that's coming together, and they're playing solid all around the puck. What I love most is when they keep some offensive time in the offensive zone, and they're not just one and done. It's fun to watch those games and fun to see the team playing like that, and great to see Sekera back and healthy again. I hope that we can carry this defense through to the end of the season into next season, and everybody stays healthy for a change. Kara, I thought was great to be back as well, so that was good. We should get back online next week if you're up for that, Mike. Do
Sure.
a pod there. I also, I haven't announced that ever, but trying to get you to do a couple of recorded pods. We'll have to show you how to get that done, and have you guest host on the recorded version of the podcast, which I haven't done in a long time, the Heavy Hockey Podcast. I've got a couple of guests lined up, and just trying to find time with the travel and everything. It's been hard to do, so would like to get that going. So we'll get you do that. You've got a couple guests in mind too, I think, right?
Yeah, there's a couple guys.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, have a great night. Thanks for calling in, and thanks everybody for listening. Glenn, good to always have you on. Braley, Brooke was on for a little bit. We even had Kelly from Beer League Heroes -8. Number of people on the Periscope. If you're at the game on Saturday, let me know. Would love to get together and meet you, shake some hands, kiss some babies, whatever. All right. Have a great night, Mike.
Bye.
And that's where we're going to end it tonight. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great night.